You're listening to the Vibrant Vision Podcast, a podcast designed to help you get clarity, increase your confidence, and cultivate the most important connections so you can have the impact you were created to make. I'm your host, Amanda Kerrigan. Now let's get to making that vibrant vision a reality. Hi there. Welcome to episode 19 of the Vibrant Vision Coaching Podcast. I'm so glad you joined me. And this is the second in our series on beating procrastination and how do we overcome procrastination. Last week, we talked about the confidence killer. And one of the biggest things that I see when people are procrastinating is that I'm not ready yet. So if you haven't gotten to listen to that episode, go ahead and go back and listen to that. This episode is not dependent on that episode, but it's just something to be really aware of I'm not ready yet. And so this week we are going to be talking about something that I see a lot of people doing, and that is overthinking. Overthinking is just kind of a fancy way of procrastinating, of putting off the things that we know we need to do to move forward. And a lot of times it'll show up as planning, because planning is good, right? Planning is productive until it's not, right? Because it can be really unproductive and it can make you really ineffective. I actually started to overthink this episode. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And really what I needed to do is just sit down and let the words flow out on my outline so that I could come into this episode really inspired. And often when I coach business owners, they have elaborate plans. They have like this giant marketing plan, and they have their big old sales plan and how they're going to have the sales conversation. They have a script that they need to follow, and they have this coaching program and package, and then they haven't taken action on any of it because their thinking and their planning disguised itself as action. When I was in economics class, I had a professor who was a guest professor. This is the only time I learned anything in economics worth thinking about. And he came in and he told us about this law of diminishing returns, which is basically in economics is where your supply and your demand curve intersect. And if you supply any more than your demand really just won't buy. And so you're supplying a bunch, but you're not getting any return on investment because you're basically flooding the market. And so in economics, this is basically saying you're not doing anything with that supply. And we hit that point of diminishing returns where all of our planning is not actually accomplishing something. It's not doing anything for us. The place of diminishing returns where we're putting in more effort than we're getting something out of it. Overthinking also shows up as rumination, dwelling on the past. How many times have we walked out of a conversation and gone, oh, I should have said that. Oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. Ugh. And then we rehash this conversation. We make meaning where there isn't any meaning. And we also just like turn into middle schoolers, right? Maybe I shouldn't have spoken up at that meeting. Everybody's going to think I'm a know-it-all or that I'm an idiot. Or we do this, we catastrophize and we incessantly worry about the future. What if, right? Let's face it, this world keeps giving us reasons to worry. Between slowly, very, very slowly emerging from a 2-year pandemic that basically brought this world to a screeching halt, and then seeing all these images of an unprovoked and unjustified war in Ukraine, and the rising prices of pretty much everything, I can't go anywhere without going, that went up $1, $2, or $5. I'm not buying that. It's hard to keep our worries in check. That coupled with just everyday life, growing your career, or your business, or school, or your kids' school. It's hard to keep moving forward, but there are plenty of reasons to keep moving toward your vibrant vision. So how do we stop overthinking? How do we start moving forward, moving toward the life that we want, that vibrant vision that I keep telling you, hold on to it. It's going to happen. The first thing to do is to notice. Just notice when you're overthinking, because awareness is often the first indication that we need to change something. What happens when you overthink? Are you a planner like me? You just have to know the plan. I need to know the plan. I have to have the plan in my hand, and then I want to overplan, right? Or are you somebody who dwells on the past? Are you a ruminator? Are you one who's like, oh, I should have done that. I should have done this. I could have done that better. Or are you a warrior? Are you somebody who is like, what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I show at that meeting and I completely bomb my presentation? Notice that you're overthinking. So just acknowledge it. I'm telling you, there's power in just acknowledging what's going on, just naming it. Okay, I'm overthinking on this. Number 2 is challenge your thoughts. Sometimes we think things that are very real to us. So going back to my example of the person who spoke up in a meeting and thought that their colleagues would think they were a know-it-all, just ask, is this true? Do I know that they think I'm a know-it-all? And if not, could it be true? Yes, it could be true. It certainly could be. But do you know that this is the truth? No, you do not, unless somebody said, gee, you're a know-it-all. And really, even if it is true, what other people think is none of your business. They're certainly entitled to their opinion, but their opinion does not get to dictate your actions and what you do and how you live your life. The third step is to take those thoughts captive. So now that we've challenged those thoughts, we need to take them captive. One of my favorite verses is 2 Corinthians 10:5, which says that we take every thought captive. I have a black lab. She's laying behind me on the floor. I don't know if the video is picking her up, but she is 8 and she's my seeing eye dog. So when she's in harness, she is like super good, right? She's just calm. And people are like, oh, my dog would never be able to do what your dog does. Yeah, you're right. But that's beside the point. When she's out of harness, she is wild. And one day I came into work and she hadn't seen my boss in a while. She loves my boss. They are besties. And she went racing down the hall and he was talking to her and he got her so riled up that she got the zoomies and she was just running all up and down our hall and like everybody came from all of their offices to watch her run. And I had to put her back on leash. I had to take that girl captive because otherwise she was just about ready to go all over the building. And that's how our thoughts are. Our thoughts are like Labradors. If you do not get them on leash and tethered to you, put them back in their harness so that they can be good thoughts, then they will just continue to have the zoomies all over the place. And if we don't take our thoughts captive, if we don't get our thinking under control, then we can't have the life that we want. Just like I can't have the dog that I want if she's not on leash and she's not being a good girl and knowing her expectations. So we set those expectations in our thoughts. The next step is become solution focused. A few weeks ago in a coaching conversation, one of my clients said this to me, I'm stuck in how purgatory. I don't know how to solve this problem. We get like that. We don't know how to solve a problem, so we get stuck in how purgatory. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And we worry about it and we overthink how to do this instead of figuring out, well, could this solution work? Or as another coaching colleague says, put it on the table and see if it'll wiggle. Instead, I want you to think about those possible solutions. One of my favorite things to do is I have a friend I will call and I'm like, hey, I have this problem, and we will brainstorm the most outrageous solutions for that problem. And we get some crazy stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. But some of our most outrageous potential solutions have become my best solutions to the problems that I faced. Fourth, be here now. I got this from my pre-calculus teacher in my junior year of high school, Mr. DeFrancia. He would always say, be here now. He had a sign in his class that said, be here now, meaning you aren't thinking about your boyfriend or your girlfriend or what you're going to have for lunch or how you're going to just kick butt on the football field. You are here in my class. Be here now. Presence is such a powerful thing, isn't it? Just being present. And you owe it to you and your vision and your dreams and the life that you want and the life you want for your kids, for your spouse, and who else you are working toward this thing for, to be here now. One way I like to do this is just to feel what it's like where I'm at. Just feel those sensations. So right now I'm sitting down so I can feel what it's like to have my feet on my little step stool because I'm short and my legs against the chair and my back against the chair. And do I have tension in my shoulders? I always have tension in my shoulders. My chiropractor is always yelling at me about it. My fingers as I type and as I scroll through my outline. Am I relaxed? Am I feeling this? And just being present with you as I talk to you on this podcast is such a joy for me. And another thing that you can do is just breathe. One of my favorite methods to do is the 4-7-8 breathing. So breathing in for 4, hold it for 7, and then breathe out for 8. And just continue to do that. Breathe in for 4, hold your breath for 7, and then breathe out for 8 counts. And it will ground you and make you present and stop those thoughts right in their tracks. Stop the zoomy thoughts. Being present will help you focus on what you can control rather than on what you can't. What is in, as Stephen Covey says in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, what's in your circle of influence versus what's in your circle of concern. And finally, acknowledge your successes. Oh my goodness. This is always going to be a work in progress, I think, for me, because I am such an achiever and I'm like, okay, there's so much more work to be done. And I let my thoughts spin out of control and then I get overwhelmed because I'm overthinking. And the way that I have learned to do this, to stop this in its tracks, is just to do what I call it is good practice. So in my journal, I just say, what did I do today? And I list it out. I got out of bed. I did my weekly planning. I recorded 2 podcasts. I did whatever it is that I did. And then at the bottom, just like God did when he created the world, he said, it is good. He didn't fret about, oh my gosh, I did the plants, but I still got the birds and the creepy crawlies on the ground. And oh, those humans are going to take some real work. He just said, no, it is good. It is good. And so as you're thinking about your day and all the things that you still have to do and all the things that are still circling in your head and overthinking and over planning, focus on the gain, not the gap. Focus on how far you've come, because as you focus on how far you've come, it's going to empower you to continue to move forward and continue to take action and just stop procrastinating. So if you've enjoyed this episode, if this episode has helped you stop overthinking, could you just do me a favor? Could you share it with one person? You can share it via text or in an email or on social media, but whatever makes you happy. If you could just share this with your friend or your family member, I would be so grateful, because my mission is to help people through this podcast. I appreciate you listening. I hope that this has inspired you. If it has, please just send me a message, amanda@vibrantvision.coach. That way I know that A, somebody's out there listening, and B, it made a difference. And I'd love to hear how you're going to stop overthinking today. That's it for this week. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking more about how to take the pro out of procrastination. And I am really excited about next week's episode. So I hope you will get pumped as well and return again for that episode. Thank you.